You are Locked On Wolverines POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Michigan Wolverines cruise to the victory over the Michigan State Spartans. It's the 4th-Straight win in the series, and Paul Bunyan back to Ann Arbor. Welcome into a live Locked On Wolverines postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And here's what we've got going on the post-game show after another impressive, convincing, and I'll say it, dominating, despite that late last backdoor cover from the Spartans on the late touchdown. We'll go over where the Michigan Wolverines exerted their dominance in this one, the big fourth down stop, some of the questionable decisions on the Michigan State side of things, what it all means, look ahead to the upcoming schedule, and as always, your comments are welcomed on the Locked On Wolverines post-game show. So fire up that comment section, buckle up, dial it in, and let's get after it. Of course, I'll have my biggest talking point, the turning point of the game, and our player of the game. With that being said, hey, anytime you can win on the road in the Big Ten, check. Anytime you beat your rival, check. And anytime you can take over the stadium of the opposition, also a check. So as I mentioned, despite that late touchdown from the Spartans, a resounding victory for Michigan all the way around tonight, and one that you'll feel good about. And we begin where we always do, the biggest talking point in this one, because I think there's a lot of different directions you could go with this one. But if I were to tell somebody about the game, here's what I'd say.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It never gets old dominating your opponent in the trenches. And if you love football as much as I believe we all do, you look at the box score and you see one team that ran the ball for 276 yards. You're going to win a lot of those games. Now, it's not always that way. It's not a cookie cutter approach, of course not. But the Michigan game plan, the identity of this team, the blue collar workhorses on both sides of the ball were on full display tonight. And listen, I'm not going to disrespect an opponent and go on and on about some of the shortcomings of Michigan State. I think they were on full display tonight. Anybody that knows ball would see them, the taunting penalties, the dead ball fouls, the questionable decisions, so on and so forth. But Michigan, at every important moment of this game tonight, was the better team, the more physical team, and the more dominant team. And it's reflective, I think, in that rushing yard total, because when you can impose your will on the gridiron for 4 quarters like the Michigan Wolverines did tonight, you're going to win a lot of games. And again, you can dissect the box score, but listen, for my biggest talking point, if I were to tell somebody about this game, I would say, hey, Michigan ran for 278 yards. What else do you need to know? Now, individually, huge ups to a couple of different running backs for Michigan. They still have the two-headed monster approach. Of course, Justice Haynes with 26 carries and the 2 touchdowns, 152 yards. And in that third quarter, where the Wolverines really took control of this game, they had 14-0 outscoring Michigan State in that third quarter. That's really where this game was decided. He had the 2 huge touchdown runs, and then how about a little icing on the cake as well for the Michigan Wolverines with that long 56-yard run to really, like I said, seal this game from Jordan Marshall there. And again, it's just reflective of who this Michigan Wolverine team is. And when they play up to their potential and control the line of scrimmage, they're going to win a lot of games. And then defensively, you can't say enough about Jimmy Rolder. And he even could have had a bigger game, because I bet you if you were to ask him, he'd say, oh, I missed that run through tackle in the backfield opportunity when Michigan State had some of their limited momentum throughout the course of this one. He could have had an even bigger play on that play and in the backfield. But on the 4th down play, where it was still a 2-possession game, he picks up the tight end, reads his key perfectly. Michigan State tries to get it to the tight end, does not work out because Rolder is there to make the play, and just a really great job by that defense altogether. But individually, he really stood out on the tape for how well he played. But Michigan, again, as a defense, 4 sacks, and controlling that line of scrimmage. State, other than their 2 touchdown drives, and I know they scored a third one there at the end, but other than that, you really put the clamps down on this Spartan team overall. But Michigan wins it for 4th straight time. The series has really been dominated by the Maize and Blue the last 4 years, of course. Now, if you look at the history, Michigan State winning in 2020 and 2021. But other than that, it's been all Michigan going all the way back to 2018 when they won in East Lansing 21-7, then back at Michigan 44-10, the 2 that Michigan State won, and then the last 4 for the Wolverines. So I know there was some little brother chants going on at Spartan Stadium. And as I mentioned in the open, when you take over your visiting as the visiting team and you take over the stadium, that's a good feeling as well. But hey, for Michigan, everything's still in front of them. 1 loss in the Big Ten. Indiana's cruising. They won big again today over UCLA. It wasn't even close. They look like the class of the Big Ten right now, which if you would have told me Indiana football, the class of the Big Ten, absolutely insane. But Michigan will have a bye week now before taking on no, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I have that right. That's my bad, because they'll have Purdue on November the 1st, then another bye week. That's my fault. So Purdue, November 1st, bye week, and then go to Wrigley Field to play Northwestern. Because remember, Northwestern has that new stadium being built, and they're no longer playing at the lakefront field. So they'll be playing that game at Wrigley Field, which could be a really cool experience. But yeah, like I said, Michigan now 2 losses on the season at 6-2, but to Oklahoma and USC, the college football playoff still certainly an option for the Wolverines if they continue on this trend. Let's take some comments before we hit our first break. Appreciate everybody tuning in after a dominant Michigan victory, 31-20. It wasn't that close. Michigan State scores late to draw within 11, but it really was 31-13 until the final seconds. So we've got a couple of comments coming in on the play calling. In your opinion, this is from Bloomer 5844. In your opinion, what is going on with the offensive play calling? It seems like we just run the same 5 plays with slight changes. It's tiring with the hot and cold nature of the offense. You might not be wrong with that, but hear me out. You saw it on full display in the game against Washington. You saw a little bit here. You lean on the opposition, and it's not always flashy. It's not always visually appealing. It's not always, putting on this display, but when you dominate your opponent physically and you lean on them for 3 quarters, you start to take over in the second half. And that's what we've seen from the Wolverines. So I know the play calling at times leaves some excitement to be desired, but I don't think it's something necessarily worth, getting into that, oh, we got to change everything because it's boring and some series don't work out. Listen, this is going to be a run first team, and you're going to lean on your 2 running backs. They're still not going to let Bryce Underwood have to make too many plays. I think the kids call that let Bryce cook. They're still not going to take the training wheels off him. And I've just kind of accepted that because it feels like that's where this team is at. So a couple more comments. West Coast FL disagrees with my dominated highlights list. If you watch that game, you would agree that Michigan dominated. And again, that's not to disrespect Michigan State by any means. It's just look at the box score. Michigan had 276 yards rushing. It's just the way it was. And a lot of comments coming in on Samaj Morgan. Morgan should not be out there. This is from somebody else. Samaj was Michigan State's best weapon. Drop pass, tackled Haynes during for a touchdown. Fair catching balls inside the 5, get that guy off the field. Yeah, I wrote that down as well. I'm glad you brought that up. The fair catch inside the 5. I will never understand that. Put your heels at the 10-yard line. If the ball's over your head, you take your chances. It's as simple as you can make it on the punt returning side of things. But overall, listen, I don't find a lot to complain about this game. Did they make some mistakes? Sure. And I listened to the post-game interview with right after the game there, with Sharon Moore. And yes, he said there's a lot to clean up. Of course, Sharon Moore is going to say there's a lot to clean up. And there certainly is. But to go on the road against your rival, and albeit Michigan State's not a good team, I'm not saying they are, it's a game by game basis. And if it sounds like I'm backpedaling for Michigan, that's the last thing. And all of my friends would tell you that I'm very critical of Michigan, and many times too critical, and I demand perfection and everything else. But they won the game easily on the road against a rival. And the idea here is to win and advance, and then on to the next one. So you take on Purdue and you go get a win there. You get the bye week, then you go to Northwestern, who was in a pesky fight with Nebraska today. Nebraska ended up winning that game, but it was close. But the point being is, are there specifics that Michigan could clean up? Absolutely. Did you dominate your opponent in the trenches, lean on them to the tune of 276 yards rushing? Also, yes. And that's a job well done and a good day of work. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and let's go ahead and take a quick timeout. We'll be back with more on the other side. I'll have my turning point and our biggest talking point. We already hit that, so I'll have my biggest turning point and our player of the game. That's next on a live Locked On Wolverines postgame show. This episode of the Locked On Wolverines postgame show is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. The game this week that moved the moment that moved the game forward. How about the 2 touchdown runs from Justice Haynes in the third quarter? Both of them around the edge, gets the corner and gets into the end zone for the Wolverines, giving them that winning edge just like Mazda does. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, there's more to every single highlight. There's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode of the Locked On Wolverines postcast is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's the weekend, time to look back and crown this week's MVP who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. The player that delivered, you guessed it, for the Michigan Wolverines, it's Justice Haynes, 26 carries, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His longest run of the day was 28 yards. How about that? He delivered, and just like Justice Haynes delivered for the Michigan Wolverines, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends November 18th. There we go. We're back on a live Locked On Wolverines post-game show. 31-20. Michigan now 6-2 on the season, 4-1 on the Big Ten. Some teams in front of them in the AP Top 25 losing. So Michigan will obviously lose up with that ranking. Obviously move up with that ranking. I'm not sure what I was saying right there, but you get the ideas. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and crown our player of the game, although I'm sure by now people are tired of hearing about how good this player was. But, hey, I don't make the rules.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, it's Justice Haynes, but we'll also give the offensive line a salute as the Michigan Wolverines keep the Paul Bunyan trophy, which is such a great trophy, by the way. But Justice Haynes, tremendous effort on the ground as well. 26 carries, 152 yards, nearly 6 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. And again, that offensive line paving the way from him. And I'm reading some of the comments, and I'll listen. I'll be honest. It's difficult to articulate your thoughts in a solo show. Most of my college football show, that airs on Saturday morning. I got a couple of co-hosts I can lean on, but it's a little bit different post-game reaction show. So I'm doing my best, reading all the comments as they come in, and people are upset with the play calling. It's atrocious. It's boring. It's predictable. But you know what? When you lean on the opposition, and it's a run for 1 yard, it's a run for 2 yards, it's a tackle in the backfield, next thing you know, you break one for a big gain. The Michigan Wolverines did that 3 times tonight. So I just don't understand what the fan base is upset about. I mean, you got the win, but listen, again, I don't make the rules, and I'm not going to pretend to try to appease to each and every Michigan fan with the play calling there. People want the play action pass mixed in there as well, but listen, these coaches, they want to win. And the recipe for winning tonight was to jam the ball down the Michigan State defense's throat. And they did. I will say, I thought the officiating was poor tonight. I don't think that's why Michigan won. I don't think that's why Michigan State lost. But it certainly was a turning point when Michigan benefited from the offsides call against Michigan State on the blitz that was timed, where Bryce Underwood fumbled and State recovered it. And I don't want to make that the turning point of the game. It happened too early. There were far more important plays that happened that turned to the outcome of the game, but it certainly is worth mentioning. So with that, let's get to our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I'll go ahead and say the final touchdown run for the Michigan Wolverines, because it was, in my opinion, embodied what this Michigan team was doing all game long. And that's what was controlling the line of scrimmage. And when you get Jordan Marshall loose for that long 56-yard run and score, you break the back of your opponents. And at that point, I know Michigan State didn't wave the white flag, but that game was there and done with. And then defensively, this game turned when Michigan State went for it twice in the fourth quarter on 4th and short, and were unable to get it because the Michigan defense tightened in the most important moment. And I talked about, how important it was for Jimmy Rolder to have that pass breakup on the 1 4th down attempt from the Michigan State Spartans. Rolder was right there with the tight end, fouled the key out of the backfield. And then the second one, State trying to catch Michigan off guard and kind of quick play it, and the interior stopped Michigan State from picking Aiden Childs from picking up that 4th and short. And again, that's a salute to the defense for making 2 huge plays when it mattered the most. So shout out to the Michigan Wolverines and earning this victory tonight. As I mentioned, with the win, they are now 6-2 overall and 4-1 in the Big Ten. Appreciate everybody tuning into the Michigan Wolverines post-game show. Do me a favor, like today's episode, go ahead and subscribe to Locked On Wolverines. You hear Isaiah Hull every single day, and I'm happy to hop on here and do an instant reaction post-game show after games. Michigan's next game, as I mentioned, against Purdue, and that'll be back at the Big House on November the 1st. That's Saturday. It is a night game. So with that being said, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you for all of your comments. And how about the Michigan Wolverines? Everything in front of them. A win over Michigan State. Paul Bunyan stays in Ann Arbor. Final score in this one, 31-20. Have a wonderful rest of your night.